It's not the tools, it's really how you choose to use it. More importantly, do not let that thing use you. ChatGPT or AI are just tools, and we have a choice on how to use them. Some people think some books are evil or bad or deserve to be banned. Hey, it's Amal, and today we are talking about ChatGPT, and especially how does ChatGPT steal your self-authority? Well, it's not ChatGPT that steal your self-authority, but how do you let ChatGPTs or AI tools steal your self-authority? The truth is, ChatGPT or any kind of AI tools are great and they can help you a lot. They can be really helpful. They can be efficient and really useful in many cases. But in other situations, those tools can become a trap and can create dependency and slowly kills your self-authority. Especially in our times, we are more and more dependent on tools, on the internet, on other references or other sources than ourselves for information, for decision, or questions that we have. And it's even more important to make sure that we're not becoming totally dependent on those tools. They are great tools, but they shouldn't be using us. We should be using them, you know. The trap is that you can fall into this constant need to rely on these outside sources, and slowly you lose this ability to come back to yourself and to ask yourself those questions, or just even to trust yourself that you have the answer, or that you can make that choice, that you don't need to analyze 100 possibilities before deciding. And in a lot of cases, it can also delay actions. Most of the time, we know what we have to do, but we might go and talk with ChatGPT for hours and hours. And I've seen that a lot, not only in my own life, but also in the life of people around me. And this is a big trap, especially if you're not aware of it. That's why it's important to become aware of this habit, and you can ask yourself this question just to assess whether you actually have this habit of going to outside sources. Do you, like, when you have a question or when you have some kind of interrogation, or you just don't know what to do, what's your first reflex? Do you go to outside sources? Do you ask other people? Who do you ask, basically? Do you come back to yourself? Do you ask yourself those questions? Even sounding kind of crazy, but like asking yourself those questions, like, what do you want to do? Do we go left or right? Do we do this or that? Or just asking yourself the question first, you know? So you can ask yourself that question and try to assess whether you are actually outsourcing your self-authority. And it can be a great test to see and to check with yourself if you've been outsourcing self-authority, whether it's ChatGPT, but it can be applied to any kind of external tools or person or thing. Can be really anything. And this is something I actually realized from personal experience first, and then I obviously advise other people to do that as well, because it was so efficient, you know. And so, yeah, just to talk about my experience with those tools and especially AI, I think at the beginning, I think it came out in 2023, something like that. And at the time, I I didn't jump right away, because it was a like a new tool. Um, so yeah, I think we all had this phase where we were just starting to try things, and realizing how powerful that tool is, especially ChatGPT. You can do so much with it. It's absolutely brilliant, and especially as someone who loves new technologies, I absolutely love new technologies. Um, I mean, I grew up watching Star Wars, so you know what I mean. Um, and yeah, as someone who really loves new technologies, I was directly so curious about it. I wanted to know everything, and I spend a lot of time actually on those tools. You know, like just to try to understand it, how it works. You quickly realize that it works with prompts, and that you can kind of program your own ChatGPT to have um, some kind of conversation with it. Um, and I will talk about that whole programmation with, especially with prompts and memorizing it directly on ChatGPT, because that can be very powerful as well. For example, let's talk about it now. So basically, um, what I did when I started to understand how ChatGPT actually worked, I started programming my own ChatGPT. So basically, I would, every time I had something that I didn't really like, or some response that I just didn't really like, um, I would start uh, writing prompts and then asking ChatGPT to memorize it. And slowly, I started programming the ChatGPT to be used only how I wanted to use it. You know, and one of these actually is, and going back to that subject especially, I remember specifically some question where I was noticing that I had this reflex to go directly on ChatGPT to ask the question. And I think we all have that. Obviously, it depends on people, but most of people do that a lot. You know, the first reflex is, I'm gonna search the answer on internet, on Google, on ChatGPT. We don't do that thing where we turn inward. What am I thinking? What do I think about that? You always think about um, that question, even, and actually before asking that question to any kind of tools, you already have an answer. Maybe it's not perfect, and it's probably not perfect, but at least you have one and it's yours, you know. And then you can develop with other tools, with books, with other sources, but the first source of answers should be you. Um, so yeah, I started slowly programming my ChatGPT with uh, prompts. So one of the prompts was always ask me before answering. So basically, it's kind of shield. I created that shield that allow me to counteract with that reflex I have to ask the answer. So if I go to my ChatGPT right now and I ask a question, I will always have first that question before the answer. And so basically, if I ask ChatGPT, I would be like, okay, I need to know this. ChatGPT will start by asking me what I'm thinking about that thing, or what I know, or what I discovered, or like it's always gonna bring me inward first. So asking me the question, and then if I want to develop, or if I notice some kind of lacks in the answer, or I need to develop more about certain points, ChatGPT is going to help me, you know? And so this really allowed me to control that reflex that I had to always try to check outside before getting the answer. You know, and this is something that actually worked with a lot of other people. And I highly recommend. I created a PDF with all the prompts. If you want, I can send it to you. You can just send me an email to contact at amalgouzafa.com. And it's totally free. I will send it to you. You just have to send me an email. So on the other hand, the fact is ChatGPT or any kind of AI tools are not totally fully optimized yet. And not only can bring to make like writing mistake or making mistake in general, but also there's a lot of misinformation. It tends to dilute your voice, and a lot of other downsides that you can find. But also on the other hand, I'm not saying stop using those tools or new technologies. I'm saying, or that's just a call to become aware and to reconsider our use of new technologies, starting simply by asking ourselves first for answers, or before asking online. And the truth is, you can be really surprised by all the answers that you can find on your own. The last point, and this is kind of the main link between losing self-authority and how the impact of ChatGPT or any kind of AI tools. You can see that even right now, and it's been just a few years of these tools, we are already using ChatGPT or ChatGPT or AI tools for almost everything. And while it can be useful, it has a lot of downside, and especially in the development of important skills. One of these, I've seen that a lot actually, and I try not to use those tools like that, but basically using AI or ChatGPT for conversations. And the danger with that is that the more you do it, the more you realize that it's easy, especially to solve conflicts, or to, to make the conversation go more slowly, or just simply being too lazy to respond, but the danger, and I think there's a danger there, is that first of all, we're not developing this social skill, because social skills are like a muscle, and the more you practice, the more you get better at it, and not actually confronting this conversation, and instead going with ChatGPT or AI tools, or delegating that to AI tools, it solely kills that ability to have conversation and have difficult conversation if needed. And this can be a real danger, especially in the human connection or the human communication. So it's important on that side to also be aware that ChatGPT is not stealing your self-authority in that regard, and that you're not delegating some simple task or things like conversation to some kind of robot, because it is a robot, and to be aware that you're not sacrificing part of the experience of being human. And that sounds a little exaggerated, but I think I think there's a lot of truth to it, and I think we have to remember that even though those tools are extremely important, it will never replace the simple thing as having a conversation with another human face to face. And it's important to not let tools, no matter how useful or helpful they are, to replace that experience. Okay, another thing is, and that one I actually experienced it myself, the ability that ChatGPT or any kind of AI tools have with redaction can be extremely limited. And the dangerous part is that it can easily start to change your voice, dilute your voice, and you can slowly start to lose this ability to talk for yourself, or to think for yourself, or to just express yourself. And this is such a sad thing, actually, like slowly losing your voice to the point where you don't even recognize it anymore, so that's why I think it's another trap. I remember when I was in school, or even back in college, or university, teacher would actually forbid us to use even internet, or like Google or Wikipedia, so yeah, because this is also an important skill to develop, the ability to think for yourself, and the ability to develop an argument, a commentary, a dissertation. I don't know if that's how you say it in English, but the ability to develop your own argument, your own counter argument. This is really important in the development of your own thoughts. And yeah, it's important to not let these tools take that away from you. Okay, now that was one of the last point from what I've seen around me in clients, but also in my own life. And now I want to specify, I'm not saying ChatGPT is evil or bad. ChatGPT or AI are just tools, and we have the choice on how to use them. Some people think some books are evil or bad or deserve to be banned. And I'm one of those who believes that it's not the tools, it's really how you choose to use it. And more importantly, do not let that thing use you. And on the side note, I'm in no way perfect with that. I'm still discovering those tools as well, and especially the effect that it has on humans. I think we all do. But I think it's important to stay aware and stay cautious with those tools, as we don't really know what kind of effect it has on the human brain. And I think it's really important to stay awake, stay aware, and stay mindful. Yeah. And I think just with that awareness, you can protect yourself while discovering those tools and while exploring what abilities that these tools can do. And it's really with that awareness and with mindfulness that you can explore without letting these tools steal your self-authority. If this resonates with you, that's exactly what I do in my program, Self-Authority Reset. And if you're interested, you can book a call with me or join one of the Self-Authority Reset groups coming next. I will put all the links in the description. So I hope that video was helpful or gave you some new perspective. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.